This was the closest I've ever felt to Hekate in my life. A little under 2 weeks ago, I got to participate in one of the most invigorating experiences of my witchy journey. My friend and I got to perform a ritual together in nature, and it was absolutely magical. This ritual wasn't something that we slapped together at the last second. It was something that I put together with one simple focus in mind. How can we meet the parts of ourselves that need healing without overwhelming our systems? You see, Liza spent years in environments where she had to shapeshift to survive, where safety depended on being what someone else needed her to be. So she struggles to stay in her body, she dissociates. There isn't a stable sense of self underneath all of that yet. And that's not a failure, that's just a nervous system that adapted. And I have my own work. I've done EMDR and brain spotting over the years to heal through traumas. I've met younger parts of myself before, but there was a part of me I hadn't fully embraced yet. I had only ever brushed against her throughout the years, and that someone was a version of me that was abandoned at the age of 3 years old, left on a semi stranger's doorstep at 2 a.m. while her biological mother and only father figure she had ever known drove off laughing. She was ready to be witnessed. I knew coming into building this ritual, it wasn't going to be easy. Both of us have tendencies to dissociate when overwhelmed, so we needed to approach this with as much care and patience as possible. I sat with the idea of making this ritual for a good couple of days before I even shared it with her, because I knew that it wasn't going to be an easy thing for either of us. Once I got her consent to participate, I really started conceptualizing what it would be like, but I kept feeling like something was off. When I remembered my ritual for this podcast that I'd recently done, I got a crazy idea. I started to get giddy as I thought to myself, what if we make poppets that represent our child selves in their most vulnerable state? And then we can feed them what they never got in those moments to start healing and integrating that trauma. The second I finished that thought, I got goosebumps all over my body. I knew that was the missing piece. Not only was this going to be a powerful healing tool, but it would allow us the opportunity to meet ourselves without triggering our fight or flight responses. Originally, I was going to go to my favorite store to buy us pre made poppets, but when I got there, none of them really spoke to me. Their colors just didn't fully resonate with the energies that we were trying to draw upon. So I checked in with Liza and we decided to make our own. It was gonna be the first time for both of us, but it felt right in our hearts. It allowed us to not only build a deeper connection with the poppet, but also to ensure that the intentions and herbs used were tailored very specifically for our purpose. After this was established, I got to writing out the entire ritual, which I will share below in case you would wish to replicate it for yourself. We began by preparing the space so that once we stepped in, nothing would pull us back out. 4 candles were placed at the directions, creating our circle, and in the center, we left a clear space to work. Everything we needed from pre cut fabric to thread, needles, stuffing, herbs, oil, materials for the sachets, etc., was all laid out within reach. We lit some charcoal, gathered wild sage to burn and cleanse the circle, and then I started my favorite Hekate meditation music, and from there, we moved into the center and began feeling our bodies. We allowed ourselves to move in ways that we felt called to do so, whether that was swaying, dancing, twirling. We just let our bodies flow. Once we felt grounded and centered, we recited a personal version of the Orphic hymn in unison to honor Hecate. Hear me, O blessed Hecate of the roads, triple formed, honored among the dead, heavenly, chthonic, and of the sea, key bearing goddess of the crossroads, wandering among tombs, delighting in deer, nocturnal, torch bearing queen of the night, companion of dogs, invincible and revered, protector, mistress of liminal ways, you who hold the keys to all realms, who walk between worlds with sovereign power. Come, gracious goddess, attend these rites and grant your presence as we call. From there, we turn to each direction, lighting a candle at each point. To the east, Breath and mind I open. To the south, fire and will I awaken. To the west, emotion and water I soften. To the north, body and earth I return. And then back at the center, we called Hekate in. She's both our patron deity, so we wanted her to be an active part of this ritual. We called her in with the following phrase: Hekate, torchbearer and keybearer, stand with us at the crossroads and witness this as we return to ourselves. After that, we paused, hands on our bodies, actually feeling ourselves there, and together we said, I am here, I am in my body, I am safe enough to begin. Then we sat down and began working with the fabric. We had again pre-cut our shapes for the poppets to save time, so this was more about attaching all of the pieces and detail work. A heart was placed on the outside as we said, This is where I hold you. A vertebrae bone was placed for the eye as we said, I see you. Then it came time to write our personal acrostics on the inside of the back fabric so the words would live inside the body of the poppet. For me, my acrostic was stay. Staying with you, I am here, turning towards you, not away, allowed to be exactly as I am. You are not alone anymore. For Liza, her acrostic was truth. Truth lives quietly inside me, returning to myself as safe. Unapologetically, I'm allowed to be who I am. There is space for me to exist. Here, I do not have to change. And before closing the fabric, we said, These are words I am learning to live inside of. Then we began stitching. This became the core of the ritual. Each stitch carried a line of the acrostic. Over and over in rhythm with breath, we repeated the acrostic line by line, stitch by stitch, the words moving through our bodies and into the poppet at the same time. We made sure it wasn't rushed. It became sort of meditative and repetitive and very anchoring. Once we were mostly done with the stitching, we moved into filling them. As we filled them half full, we said together, You are allowed to take up space. Then we paused and placed our herbs in the center. For Liza, each herb was an invocation of calm, safety, presence, memory, and protection. For me, each one was about learning to hold, to stay, to remember, to love, and to remain grounded in that presence. Once the herbs were placed and we had said our invocations for each herb, we finished filling the poppets, and I said an additional invocation of You do not have to be empty anymore. And then we closed with I am holding you together. After that, we anointed them with an oil that we made specifically for this ritual and said together, You are safe to be cared for. From there, we sat down and held the poppets for a bit before we moved to creating dream sachets using the same herbs and the same intention as with the poppets. Once done, we grounded by saying together, We are here, we are safe, we are grounded. Then it was time to close, and we returned to the center and said our closing prayer in unison. Hekate and Noria, keeper of the ways, I thank you for your presence at this threshold. As the torches dim and the path grows still, I return what is yours and keep what is mine. Guard the roads before and behind me. Let no shadow cling that is not my own to carry. Let no door remain open that should be closed. With respect, I release you to your realms, sky, sea, and sacred underworld. Remain if you will, depart if you must, but walk with me in wisdom where paths divide. Hail and farewell, torchbearer of the night. Then we extinguished the candles and closed the circle. On our way back to my mom's house, Liza said, That was the closest I've ever felt to Hecate in my practice. And I agreed with her, because while we were creating our poppets, the wind kept picking up more and more until by the time we finished, it was hard to keep everything from blowing away. When we got back, I remember my mom saying, Whatever you two did, you were called in something. And we all smiled and laughed as she knew exactly what we were doing. It was such a magical experience. And the thing is, it didn't stop there. That night, I slept with my poppet on my chest, just talking to her, telling her how proud I am of her, that she's beautiful, that she's not alone anymore. And right before I woke up the next day, I had a really intense dream. It started with me going to sleep in my normal home, but then I woke up in a car parked on the grass at my mom's house, and I was immediately confused, like something was off. Then my best friend and my partner and a whole group of people started getting out of other cars and circling me. And I realized when my partner smiled at me that they were all werewolves. But I wasn't scared. I was just refusing to be turned. Then it kind of shifted and there was a split. So I went with a separate rogue pack, still not turned, just normal human. And then another pack was staying with him and he was the alpha. And he was very angry that I left because I was his property in his eyes. So his pack started attacking the pack that I was with at the place we were in. And at that point, I decided to turn, not because I was forced, but because I chose to protect my people. After a couple days, I decided I was going to challenge him, and everyone backed me. They wanted me to be the alpha. But then when it came time to actually challenge him, it turned into this weird Pokemon style tournament with a bunch of kids playing. Like, suddenly there were rules and systems, and I remember being really confused about whether I actually won or not. Like, I felt like I did, but I wasn't sure. And I was also worried because I didn't have the money to pay for the games I had grabbed to try to win. And then I woke up. I remember laying there for a few minutes just processing the dream before I got up. And here's what my interpretation is: the dream isn't about me becoming powerful, it's about me realizing that I always have been. At the beginning, I refused to be turned. I wasn't willing to be forced into anything, which is important because that's a shift from old patterns where things just happened to me. Then, when I did turn, it was a choice. I chose it because I needed that power to protect myself and what I cared about. The controlling alpha figure wasn't a representation of my current partner in any way. What it was a representation of was past dynamics of control, possession, being treated like I belonged to someone else. And instead of staying in that, I left. And when I left, parts of the group came with me, which to me felt like parts of myself choosing me over those old patterns. Then I stepped into leadership. I challenged him, and everyone backed me. There was no questioning. I just knew I was meant to be in that position. And I felt like everyone backing me was like all of me choosing to be present as one. And then it shifted into this game: rules, systems, needing to win in a specific way. And that's where it gets really interesting because I didn't doubt my power. I doubted whether I had officially won. It was this feeling of, I know I did this, but does it count? Am I allowed to claim it without someone outside of me confirming it? So, all in all, this dream isn't about me trying to get somewhere. It's about me standing right at the edge of something that's already mine and realizing that the only thing left is whether or not I'm willing to recognize it without needing proof. And I think that's the most powerful part of this whole experience because, like I said before, this isn't just about power. This is about her, the version of me that got left behind, the one who learned that I didn't get to choose, that I either got picked or I got abandoned. And in that moment, at 3 years old, I got left became the truth I lived inside of. I'm too much and not enough at the same time got solidified. And this dream showed me something really clear: I'm healing. Because I wasn't forced to change, I chose to. And I wasn't abandoned for choosing that. So now it's not just, can I step into power? It's, can I be the one who stays with her no matter what, without needing anyone else to confirm that I'm allowed to be here? I hope today's episode resonated with you. And if it did, you're welcome to share it with someone who might need this conversation. If it stirred questions, reflections, or even disagreement, you're welcome to join the conversation or suggest future topics on Instagram or YouTube at Salt and Sovereignty, or reach out via email saltandsovereignty@gmail.com. Until next time, honor the truth that keeps you sovereign.